What is up, you guys? Ryan Brewer back here, the host of Michael Myers Reacts, and here we are for MMR Live number 2. Pretty exciting. I want to thank everybody for all the love on the first episode. Did pretty well. It did pretty well, as I just said. But first things first, before I really get into this episode and talk about the Devil's Rejects and stuff like that, today I just hit 400 subscribers, which is really awesome. So I want to thank each and every one of you for 400 subscribers. Absolutely means a lot. It's just that was my goal for this month, and hitting it really just made my month. I'm very glad that we hit 400 subscribers. So if you guys are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I mean, anyone's welcome. Anyone who finds this video or whatever or stream, definitely you're welcome to subscribe. And I'm just so thankful that I hit 400 subscribers today. It could change. I mean, someone could unsub and I could have 399, or who knows what can happen. Obviously, hopefully I gain more. The more the merrier. I'm always all about growing my horror family here on the channel. So if you're a horror fan and you're new, definitely subscribe because you're going to like it here. I mean, we have a lot of fun. All we do is just chill and talk about horror, and I really love that. But tonight's episode, obviously, I'm talking about the Devil's Rejects for the 15-year anniversary. Now, I know the 15-year anniversary was actually on Wednesday, but I just wanted to do an episode on it because I don't talk about Rob Zombie a lot here on the channel. I do have a video about Rob Zombie. I believe it's called My Thoughts on Rob Zombie. And, my thoughts have changed since that video. That video was about like 8 months ago, I would say. So I'm going to talk about, obviously, Rob Zombie a little bit tonight in the Devil's Rejects. But before I get into that, I also want to mention something about MMR Live number 3. Some of you might be confused because I know some people don't follow my Facebook page, which you probably should. The link is in the description down below. But MMR Live number 3 is going to be tomorrow, and I'm going to be talking about Terrifier 2 and the teaser and predictions and all that stuff. So if you guys have any questions about the Terrifier 2 teaser, or just want to talk about Art the Clown and Terrifier in general, join me tomorrow night at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for MMR Live number 3. The scheduling is not changing for MMR Live. I'm still going to do these every Saturday at 8 p.m. I don't plan on changing that. It's just I wasn't expecting the Terrifier 2 trailer to drop yesterday. Because as I said in the video yesterday, Damien Leone kept saying it was going to drop at the end of the month. I thought he literally meant like the last week of the month. So it dropped a lot earlier than expected, if you will. So I wanted to do an episode dedicated to Terrifier 2, the teaser, predictions, what have you. I thought that would be really fun. So that is what's going to happen tomorrow. And then obviously I'm going to be back on the regular scheduled program with Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I wanted to clear the air on that in case anybody was confused. But yeah, we're talking about the Devil's Rejects tonight and the Firefly Family trilogy, Rob Zombie, anything that revolves around the Devil's Rejects and stuff like that. But before we get into that, I do want to read some of the comments here. Drew Shaw's in the chat, of course, a moderator. He says, congrats, that's amazing on hitting 400 subscribers. I appreciate that. I want to see if something works. It says on here, if I tap on the comment, it'll pop up on the screen. I don't know. Oh, it does. That's awesome. All right, yeah, thanks for the congratulations, man. When was the first time you ever seen the Devil's Rejects? The first time I ever seen the Devil's Rejects was probably last year, and I have a little story about that I want to get into right now before I really get into that. I want to talk about Rob Zombie a little bit. I don't hate Rob Zombie, and I like his music, and I think his directing is okay. I don't think he's an amazing director. But this is my story with Rob Zombie movies. Some of you might have the same similar story. But the first 2 Rob Zombie films I ever seen was Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And if you've been watching my channel for a good little bit, you know how I feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Not a big fan of either film. My story is that those 2 films honestly kind of ruined Rob Zombie as a director for me, if that makes sense. After I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2, I just didn't want to watch his other stuff, like the Firefly Family trilogy, 31, Lords of Salem, stuff like that. I just didn't care about watching them because those 2 movies ruined Rob Zombie for me, if you will. Now, there's things I like about Rob Zombie's Halloween, as in Michael being brutal. Malcolm McDowell is great in it. there's some things I like about the original Rob Zombie remake. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is just complete garbage. I think every Halloween fan could agree with that. But those two movies really ruined Rob Zombie's movies for me because I watched those and I was like, I don't really want to branch out and watch his other stuff. I don't care about watching his other stuff because these two movies have absolutely ruined the idea of even watching more Rob Zombie stuff. Because like when you watch a director, as in like John Carpenter or Wes Craven, you watch a few of their movies and you kind of get the feel of how they direct, and you're like, oh, I really like this director. I want to watch more of their work. That's what happened with Rob Zombie. I just wasn't interested in watching more of his stuff, if that makes sense. Those two movies really killed Rob Zombie for me. But last year was the first time I seen The Devil's Rejects, surprisingly. I watched House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects before 3 from Hell came out. And when I first watched House of a Thousand Corpses, I actually wasn't really a big fan of that either. It was just, I wasn't feeling it. And then I went ahead and watched The Devil's Rejects after that because obviously at that time I knew that everyone said it's Rob Zombie's best movie. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to watch his best work and see if I like it. I ended up liking The Devil's Rejects a little more than House of a Thousand Corpses. But then I went through and watched House of a Thousand Corpses again and then The Devil's Rejects. And I started to like them more because there were scenes in the movies, shots in the movies that were sticking in my head. And I just got into it more. And I was like, you know what? Okay, Rob Zombie's original work is pretty good, I would say, out of those the Firefly family trilogy. Now, again, I haven't seen 31 or The Lords of Salem or anything like that. I may watch those. I think Rob Zombie, this is the thing with Rob Zombie, he needs to not get his hands into big horror movie franchises. He needs to just stick to making original content. I think that works best for Rob Zombie. So he needs to stick to just making original stuff instead of putting his hands into franchises. Now, if he was to put his hands into some big major franchises, I would definitely say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be a good home for Rob Zombie because he makes those kind of movies. If you're trying to get into Rob Zombie and his movies and stuff like that, everything is over the top. That's how I would put it. The kills are over the top. The gore is over the top. The horror comedy is over the top. So if you're wanting to get into Rob Zombie's work, just realize that everything is over the top. So that's all I got to say. But yeah, the first time I seen The Devil's Rejects was probably in 2019, not probably. That's going to be a cool one tomorrow. Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to talk about Terrifier 2 and stuff like that. Also, what is your favorite scene in The Devil's Rejects? My favorite scene in The Devil's Rejects goes to a scene with Bill Moseley as Otis, when he says, I think he says, I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work. We all know that scene if you've seen The Devil's Rejects. I watched it yesterday. That's probably my favorite scene. I also really like the opening scene where they have the shootout with the sheriff department or whatever, because obviously the sheriff or police, whatever you want to call them, is searching for them from the events of what they did in House of a Thousand Corpses. So I really enjoy the opening to this movie. But my favorite scene is definitely the Otis scene where he says, I am the devil and I am here to do the devil's work. The first time Drew Shaw seen it was in 2006. Yeah, the first time I ever watched, I'm going to click on that. The first time I ever watched Rob Zombie's work was probably in, I want to say 2010. I was probably 11 years old. Obviously was Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. And that's just when everything was like, you know what? Not really a big fan of this guy's work. So, you know what I mean? Rob Zombie's style of directing is really different than a lot of directors. Yeah, and I can respect Rob Zombie for that. I like that he does go over the top sometimes. Sometimes when you watch like the Firefly family trilogy, it's so over the top and crazy that it is kind of scary. And I'm sure that's what he was aiming for. He does that really, really well, if you ask me. So, yeah, I agree. Rob Zombie's style of directing is very different for sure. Let's see. 31 is a crazy movie. Lords of Salem 2, I watched that last year. There's a whole, hold on, what is this? There's a whole thing of the making of The Devil's Rejects called 30 Days in Hell. I do know that. It's in a DVD combo pack. I think you get like House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I have not seen 30 Days in Hell, the documentary, yet. I might check it out because I became more of a Rob Zombie fan than ever. I'm not really like a hardcore Rob Zombie fan. I don't praise him. I don't think he's like the best director in the world. but I'm starting to appreciate his original content more, especially the Firefly Family trilogy. Absolutely love the trilogy now, and it's grown on me. I will say, if you're new to Rob Zombie's work, start out with the Firefly Family trilogy, and if you don't like the movies at first, go back and watch them one more time. You're it might change, it might not, but it has grown on me. Rob Zombie is a director where you can't just watch it one time and know instantly like, oh, I really like this. No, you got to let it sink in. I feel like Rob Zombie's that kind of director where when you watch his films, you have to let them sink in. Let's see. My favorite scene in the movie is when they have those people hostage in the motel room. That's probably my second favorite scene, actually. I really enjoyed the scene with the hotel. That's another thing I was going to say about The Devil's Rejects. I believe the sheriff's name was John. He did a really good job. Like, you really think that he's really trying to catch them, obviously, because in House of a Thousand Corpses, they killed his brother, who was also a sheriff in the first movie. So he comes back to get revenge, pretty much. The thing I really like about The Devil's Rejects, though, I'm glad you brought up the motel room scene. The thing I like about The Devil's Rejects the most is that it's basically a criminals on the run movie. Throughout the whole movie, they're trying to get away from the sheriffs and stuff like that. And along the way, they're causing mayhem. And I really like that. There's not too many movies that I can think of that are like that, too many horror movies like that. There could be some, I don't know every horror movie that is like that, but that's what I like about The Devil's Rejects. I mean, it's literally a, we got to get away type of horror movie. Another thing with The Devil's Rejects that I want to mention here, just kind of off the top of my head, this is one of the situations where the sequel is better than the original. I definitely think The Devil's Rejects is better than House of a Thousand Corpses. Don't get me wrong. I love House of a Thousand Corpses, but The Devil's Rejects is definitely the best out of the trilogy and probably the best Rob Zombie movie ever. I haven't seen all of his work. I might check out some more, but I'm not too much of like, oh, I got to watch the rest of his stuff. That's not how I am. If I only ever liked the Firefly Family trilogy, I'm completely cool with that. You know what I mean? I seen his Halloween in 2008 for the first time. It was probably 2010 or something like that. Not sure. Let's see. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, Sheriff Waddell. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, but his first name was John. I think his first name was John. What is up, Machete Slasher? Welcome to the stream, dude. Let's see. I agree. It's better than House of a Thousand Corpses. Yeah, 100% better than House of a Thousand Corpses. But House of a Thousand Corpses, I would say, is the second best in the trilogy. If you're gonna go through and rate all three movies in order, it would definitely be Devil's Rejects #1, House of a Thousand Corpses #2, and then Three from Hell. I have some pet peeves with Three from Hell. I'm not gonna really get into it on the stream, but I do have some pet peeves of Three from Hell. I remember going through the House of Corpses maze and Halloween Horror Night. I think that's what that is, right? Halloween Horror Night. That's really cool. I did hear about Halloween Horror Night. I think I watched a video where some people were going through the House of a Thousand Corpses haunted house maze thing, like you said. It looked pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of funny because I was watching an interview with Rob Zombie, and he was talking about how he had like so much trouble trying to get this movie out, and like they didn't like have faith in his movie. They were like, this isn't going to do good. They didn't have, and now it's like it's a very popular movie. I mean, pretty much every horror fan knows what House of a Thousand Corpses is. So I think it's kind of funny that people doubted him, and he ended up like, hey, why are you doubting me? Because this, the movie it's good. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not, Rob Zombie isn't like, I don't know how to, he's not going to, blow you out of the water with his work, but a lot of his stuff is just, it feels very Rob Zombie, if that makes sense. Like if you're watching Rob Zombie, you're watching Rob Zombie. So I guess I could kind of see why people might have doubted his work at that time. But that's kind of dumb because, I mean, Rob Zombie there's a lot of Rob Zombie fans out there. And I'm not just talking about his music, but like of his movies, which is completely fine. So kind of doubting Rob Zombie, especially at this point now, I don't think he would get doubted now. He was kind of new to doing movies then. But you know, now he definitely wouldn't be doubted. Definitely wouldn't be doubted now. Let's see what this is. Otis Driftwood is in some scenes actually reminds me of Charles Manson. That's funny you mentioned that. If you ever seen Manson TV interviews, he would be calm 1 second, then totally flip the script. That is funny you mentioned that because I always had that in the back of my mind. Like every time I would watch like House of a Thousand or The Devil's Rejects, I would get from Otis, I would definitely get the Charles Manson vibe. So it's actually pretty funny you mentioned that. Also, let's acknowledge that 15 years this movie has been out. Like that is crazy. 15 years The Devil's Rejects has been out. And I think that's pretty crazy. Time really does fly by. I mean, I know I didn't watch the movie until like last year, but it's just crazy to think how fast time goes by. It really is. Machete Slasher says, I'm going to watch Terrifier tonight for tomorrow's stream. Awesome. Speaking of that, I'm glad you mentioned that as well. Tomorrow, as you guys know, I'm going to be talking about the Terrifier 2 teaser that dropped yesterday. Probably do some predictions about Terrifier 2. Probably talk about the original movie. Probably talk about Art the Clown in general. I'm going to try to have a guest on tomorrow, which a little hint. I'm not pointing at it. That right. You get the point. I might have a guest on tomorrow for the first time for MMR Live, so that's going to be really fun and exciting. I can't wait till tomorrow, but tomorrow's going to be fun. Tomorrow's going to be really fun. I just wanted to do. I already had this one scheduled, and I wanted to talk about the 15 years of The Devil's Rejects because, you know, why not? You know, I really grown to appreciate the movie, so I gotta acknowledge it in some way. So I thought MMR Live would be perfect for it. But you guys got to let me know in the comment section down below or in the live chat if you guys have the same sort of story about Rob Zombie. Like, did you watch, you know, maybe Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 or Halloween 1 and just get turned off by his movies? Because that's what happened. You know what I mean? When I watched those movies, I was just like, I really don't care about going through and watching more of Rob Zombie's work. That's what happened to me. I know there's fans of Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. That's fine, but for me, I'm not a fan of them. So that's just unfortunate. But that's what happened. I mean, if Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 was good, obviously I would have went through and watched more of his movies and his work, but they weren't that good, you know? Rob Zombie also is the writer of his movies and directed. Yeah, and I like that too. Again, I can appreciate Rob Zombie for doing that, for you know, writing his movies and directing them. A lot of directors don't do that. Like if they're going to be a director, they're going to direct, and then a writer's going to write. They're not going to do both, but he does do both, so I do respect him for that, obviously. I don't think Rob Zombie is a bad director, as I said. I just think you gotta. Rob Zombie has his own feel and take on movies, which I like. There's things I like and don't like about it. But like I said, when you're watching a Rob Zombie movie, you know it's a Rob Zombie movie. So I feel like him writing and directing his own stuff, you know, that's a lot of power to him. If a director is writing and directing, they have pretty much all the power that's going on in their script and their movie and stuff like that. I was watching Terrifier yesterday. Terrifier is great. I mean, I think that trailer has everybody hyped up. I'm not going to get into it on here again because I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow. By the way, congrats on 400 subs in my head. In my head, he better not catch up to me. That is hilarious, man. You know, there's no competition, man. I'm just glad that people are coming over to the channel and enjoying what I do. But I am catching up though, so you might want to be a little worried because I am catching up. But I'm just kidding. But you know, if you're gonna do YouTube, I guess I'm gonna kind of get on a little rant here about people who want to do YouTube, because I feel like this is a good time to do it, especially since I've hit a milestone. If you're wanting to do YouTube, no matter what your channel is going to be about, if it's horror, I don't know, talking about action movies, doing video games, whatever it is, I'm not a big channel. I want to get that out of the way first. I only have 400 subscribers. You know, that's not big compared to a lot of these other really great horror movie channels. Dave McCrae, for example, Wham, even Christian Hannah Horror, who I'm a big fan of. If you guys don't watch him, check him out. But for people who are, you know, don't have as much subs as me or Machete Slasher, I mean, if you're wanting to do YouTube and you kind of, I wouldn't say look up to me, but if I have more subs than you and you want some advice, this is the advice I would give you. Be patient with YouTube. It's going to take time. It's not something that happens overnight, not even something that happens over 2 or 3 nights or months. It's going to take a while. You have to have a lot of patience to do YouTube. Um, and do what you love. Don't go on your YouTube channel and do something that you're not truly passionate about or you don't care about, because honestly, you're just going to be wasting your time and your viewers' time. So don't do that. Definitely do a channel that you're going to be able to make the best content that you can and have fun with it at the same time. Like, you don't want to do YouTube and then it kind of feels like a job. You want this to be a place to where you can have fun, communicate with your viewers, and just be yourself. So, because I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there who want to do something, but it's not like, it just doesn't fit them. I've seen that a lot, actually. So just make sure you're being yourself and doing things that you absolutely want to do and you're sure that's what you want to do, and everything will go, you'll be pretty satisfied. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to be like the biggest YouTuber ever, but people will recognize that, hey, this guy's a serious person or gal, a serious person about their channel, and that's what the viewers want. You don't want to watch some channel and be like, yeah, this guy is obviously fake, or girl, like, this is stupid. They're not being serious. Just be serious. That's really all I can say, and have patience, for sure. Let's see. Rob Zombie loves to use some over-the-top dialogue. Yes, he does, and that's one of the things that makes Rob Zombie, stand out. And there's nothing wrong with standing out. It's just Rob Zombie. It's kind of hard to take Rob Zombie serious. Now, I'm not saying I don't take the Firefly Family trilogy serious. I would just say when you're watching it, there's serious scenes in it. There's serious moments. But then, he'll crack like these, there'll be like this some sort of joke or whatever, which is funny. I mean, it's funny, don't get me wrong, but it'll kind of take you away from that serious, you're in the serious mood, getting into it, like, this is really serious, and then cracks a joke, and it's kind of like, kind of took me out of it. But that doesn't, with the Firefly Family trilogy, you kind of expect that. So, like, if you're going to walk into those movies as a first-time viewer, just expect that stuff. Like, you'll get serious moments, and then you'll get comical, over the top dialogue, stuff like that. The only one by him the only one by him I hate is Halloween 2. Yeah, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is complete garbage. Every Halloween fan can agree with that. But overall, like I said, I really do respect Rob Zombie, what he does in the horror industry. I believe that's all he makes. He only makes horror movies, right? I don't think he's done anything outside of horror. So I mean, I respect him for making horror movies. But as I said earlier on in the stream, he needs to stick with original content. He doesn't need to be getting his hands into some big major horror franchises, because he already proven to us that, he kind of can't do those very good. I mean, again, I don't hate Rob Zombie's Halloween, the original. Like, there's things I like about it, but I just don't like the movie. And the reason why I don't like it, it's not because it wasn't shot well or the actors weren't good in it or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie to me. It just feels like I'm watching a Rob Zombie movie. That's how I would put it. And he always uses his wife, Sherry, in all of his movies. And every time I see her, I just think of the Firefly Family trilogy now. So it's kind of hard to watch that movie or any other Rob Zombie movie and kind of believe what's going on. Because, like, okay, same people. You can kind of get someone else that would probably help you. But, it's all good. I mean, I don't think he's a bad director. He just needs to kind of change things up a little bit. I guess that's how I would feel about it. Rob loves using his staple case, which is his trademark staple case. Not sure what you're talking about. I wonder if he will ever cast different actors. Like I was just saying, he really does need to do a different change, because using the same actors in every movie just kind of makes it unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because, like, imagine if John Carpenter, in every John Carpenter movie, you had Jamie Lee Curtis in every John Carpenter movie. It'd kind of be like, I know she's in a few of them. She's in, obviously, Halloween and The Fog and stuff like that. But, Sherry is in every Rob Zombie movie, as far as I know. I could be wrong, because, again, I haven't seen all of his work. But as far as I know, she's in every single Rob Zombie movie. which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think she's a bad actress or anything like that. It's just you need to get different people to make it more believable. You using the same people over and over and over just makes it more unbelievable because it's like, okay, I've seen this person in every movie you've ever done. You need to change it up a little bit. So yeah, I don't know why he doesn't do that, honestly. I don't know. I don't mind that he cast the actors he does because he did get talented actors like Ken Foree, Bill Moseley. I have grown to really appreciate Bill Moseley. I love him in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, obviously as Chop Top. Love him as Otis. I've really grown to appreciate him a lot more. I really do enjoy his acting and him as a person. You know, I've seen interviews of Bill Moseley, and I'm like, you know, he seems like a really, really cool guy. But his acting is really good. Like I like seeing him in horror movies. I think Bill Moseley was made to be in horror movies. He needs to do more. I don't know what he's done recently other than Three from Hell. He may have been in some other horror movies here recently, but I don't know for sure. The only one I can think of is Three from Hell. But you know, let's just sit here for a second and think about this. It is crazy that it's been 15 years since The Devil's Rejects has been out. That's hard to believe, man. Because like I knew what the Firefly family was, and I knew about House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects before last year, even before Three from Hell came out. I knew about The Devil's Rejects probably around the time I first started watching Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. So it's not like I didn't know about these movies, but it doesn't feel like this movie's been out for 15 years. And when I watch it, it's aged well. I mean, it's been 15 years, which isn't like a super long time compared to like Friday the 13th that just turned 40 years old. But 15 years is still a pretty decent long time, and it's grown. It's grown. It's definitely aged well, I would say. It's still a very enjoyable movie, very fun. Let's see here. Let me go up. Where is it? I wonder what his next movie will be. That's a good question. I don't think Rob Zombie will do any more with the Firefly family. I think that's done. I think, he did all he really could with it. Personally, if it was up to me and I was Rob Zombie, I wouldn't have even made Three from Hell. I would have had The Devil's Rejects be the final movie. But, I mean, the Firefly family is a moneymaker, so I kind of see why he made another one. But I really feel like he shouldn't have made Three from Hell, especially with, Baby and Captain Spaulding and Otis all getting shot up at the end of the movie. I mean, it's kind of like, how did you survive that? Now, I'm not saying no one could survive that, but it's kind of like, are you sure? Like, you survived this? So that was kind of like a moment for me. It's kind of like, why are you making another one? Another thing I wanted to mention too about the end of the movie, I really like how I believe his name is John. I know his last name, but I believe the sheriff in the movie, he was great. I like how at the end, he pretty much tortures them, and the Otis and Baby and Captain Spaulding all get a taste of their own medicine. I really like that ending. If Rob was going to make another one, like I don't think he knew for sure he was going to make Three from Hell. I think it was because you got to remember Three from Hell was made, about 14 years or over 14 years after The Devil's Rejects. So I don't think he knew for sure, like, hey, I'm going to make another one after this movie. So I feel like maybe, it kind of just popped up maybe around maybe 2018. I don't know exactly when. But I don't think I think his intention was to end it with The Devil's Rejects, but I don't know the whole story around Three from Hell. I need to watch some documentaries on it because I know there's like short documentaries on Three from Hell. But I don't think he was intentionally wanting to make another one. If I was Rob Zombie and I made The Devil's Rejects and I was wanting to make another one after Tiny comes back, because obviously we see Tiny in the beginning of The Devil's Rejects and he comes back at the end and he saves Baby and Otis and all them from the sheriff. And I believe Tiny killed him, right? And then they take the car. I would have ended it when Bill Moseley says, we'll come back for you and have them drive off. I would have just had them drive off and fade it to black and then show the credits because then obviously you could make another movie from after that. But them getting shot up at the end of The Devil's Rejects kind of makes it, like, I mean, are you sure they survived? Like, I don't see how, but, there's always money to be made. And I don't mind Three from Hell. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it as much as I love House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. I like the first half of Three from Hell better than the last half. Like, once they go to Mexico, the movie kind of goes downhill for me personally. But I just feel like he should have ended it with the Devil's Rejects. You know what I mean? There's no ice cream in your future. That's funny. Um, I like defending Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. I believe it depends on what lenses you look at it through. Um, like I said, I this is how I ultimately feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, garbage. Complete garbage. Like, if you like that movie, that's fine, but it's garbage. I'm sorry, but it's garbage. Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, again, there's things I like about it. The brutality of Malcolm McDowell. The acting wasn't bad. I actually kind of do like the ending of Rob Zombie's Halloween, like the very, very end. That was always, fun to me. But the whole giving Michael a backstory, I don't like. I think that's stupid, and it just doesn't feel like a Halloween movie to me. Maybe it's just me. I don't watch it a lot, so maybe I'll go back and watch it sometime. But I really don't think it's going to grow on me because I've watched it a good bit already, and it hasn't grown on me. So I don't think it ever is going to grow on me. But I'll definitely give it a watch again. But I see what you mean. I guess if you look at it from like, if you don't think about the franchise and you just look at it as a movie, I mean, it's kind of hard to do that, in my opinion, since I'm such a hardcore Halloween fan. It's hard for me to look at it as just a Rob Zombie movie because obviously we're in the Michael Myers universe, and it's just kind of hard for me to, do that. She's the main girl in Lords of Salem. Oh, yeah, his wife, Sherry, yeah. Bill Moseley also was in Night of the Living Dead 1990. Yes, he was. And it's funny you mentioned that because I actually watched the remake probably 2 nights ago, and I still don't own it yet. I need to get it. That's what I was going to say. I love Bill Moseley in that too. In that opening scene, he's really good. And when I watched that, it's funny because I'm so used to him as Otis. Like, that's the most, and Chop Top, but I mostly think of him as Otis. When I saw him without the beard and the weird kind of, late 80s haircut, I was like, wow, Bill Moseley, you look weird right here, dude. But the Night of the Living Dead 1990 remake is really fun. I'm glad I watched it a few nights ago because it's been a while since I've seen it. If you guys haven't seen Night of the Living Dead 1990, it is on Tubi right now for free, so you guys can check that out. But my respect for Bill Moseley has just gone up so much in this past year, I would say. I really like Bill Moseley. Let's see. That opening scene is pretty good with the shootout. Yeah, 100%. I love the shootout. And it makes sense. I mean, obviously, they're going to be looking for them. They just did these big crimes. I mean, they're not just going to be like, oh, whatever. No, they're going to be looking for them. So it does make sense. I mean, well, the shootout thing, I guess, I don't know. It makes sense. Obviously, the sheriffs are going to be looking for them and stuff like that. So, yeah, that whole actor thing sounds a lot like this dude named Ryan Brewer, Mikey, who made the horn call on the horn call 2. Yeah, man. I've heard about the horn call. I don't know what that Ryan Brewer Mikey is thinking, making the horn call on the horn call 2. I think it's crazy. I know he's like the producer of Krugerzilla, which is pretty famous on my channel now, I would say. He's the producer of the first film, at least. I don't know why he was involved with it. He's just crazy. I know that he's been in communication with the director of Hazcat, or Has in a Cat Suit, whatever it was, from Slasher Spidey Toast or something like that. I don't know. By the way, it's a little inside joke, guys. You guys probably won't get that, but it's a little inside joke from me and Machete Slasher. They were shot multiple times, so I don't see how. See, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, that's the end. Like, you really don't have to watch 3 from Hell, and it's just hard to believe that they survived that. So I see where you're coming from, and I'm sure there's a lot of Rob Zombie fans and Firefly Family fans that probably don't understand that, because I'm one of them. But at the same time, I'm glad there's another one, because then, it is a trilogy. But personally, if I did that ending, if I was Rob Zombie and I did that ending, I would just not make another one. I would be like, that's it. But if I knew, I don't think he knew. Again, I don't think he intentionally was going to make a 3rd movie. But if he did know he was going to make a 3rd movie, then he should have never ended it like that. But I really don't think he knew, because obviously it was 14 years after The Devil's Rejects. But if it was me, I would have just left it there. I would have said, this is the end. They died. That's it. It's done. But obviously that did not happen. Yes, that's a good scene. He wanted revenge for his brother, but didn't quite get it completely. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is like a revenge, criminal on the run type movie, and I really like that. And yes, his brother obviously died in House of a Thousand Corpses. Spoiler alert! But I'm sure you guys have already seen it if you're watching this podcast, this stream. Yeah, he didn't quite get it, but you know what? The scene where he has Otis, Captain Spaulding, and Baby tied up on the chair at the end, and he's about to burn the house. He's stapling the pictures into them. He even puts the nails through Otis's hands and stuff. Like, I really like that scene. When I was watching that scene, I really felt it from him. You know what I mean? I was like, this is good stuff. Like, you're watching this and you're kind of rooting for him at this point. I mean, obviously, when you watch these movies, you're there for Otis and the Firefly family. But at that very moment in that scene where he's literally torturing them, you are all about him. You're like, this dude, you feel it. You're like, they deserve this for what they did to his brother. That scene's really good. That's probably like my third favorite scene in the whole movie. That ending scene is great. Great though. Freebird's playing. They were pretty beat up from Waddell. I think it's Waddell. And then come across a roadblock. They just said F it and just went out in a blaze. Yeah, see, that would have been a great ending, like you're saying. It was a good ending. I really do like the ending. If that was going to be the final movie, though, it would have made the ending a lot better because now that we know that, hey, there's three from hell, it's kind of like, now the ending's kind of ruined because it was a pretty good ending. I mean, that's the way I would have preferred them to go out. I mean, they started the movie out with a shootout, and they ended the movie with a shootout, and this time they would have actually lost. I think that would have been a perfect ending as long as you didn't continue the franchise from there. As long as you ended it there and didn't make Three from Hell, I think it would have made that ending a lot better and a lot more, it would sit well. Like, I would enjoy the ending a lot more. But now that I know there's another movie, so like if you go back and watch The Devil's Rejects and you see that ending, it's kind of like, oh, hey, this is the end. There's no more. But when you watch it now, it's like, oh, wait, there's another movie, Three from Hell. I don't know. I don't know how they could survive that. That's what I think sometimes. But that's just how it is. 80s horror fan is here. What is up? Welcome to the stream. Talking about the Devil's Rejects 15-year anniversary. Again, I really want to thank you guys for 400 subscribers. I'm not going to be doing a 400 subscriber celebration. I just wanted to acknowledge it here now. Obviously, that can change because someone could unsub and bring me to 399. But whatever. At the time of making the stream, I'm at 400 subscribers. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Now, I probably will do a 500 subscriber celebration, and it'll probably be on an MMR Live episode. So definitely, once we get there, you'll get some sort of celebration on an MMR Live for 500, which is crazy to think about. We're not that far, honestly. I know that I just hit 400, but 100 subscribers isn't like a lot. It's not like I'm 300 away. I like 100 could happen in 3 to 4 months. Again, you have to be patient with YouTube. It's not just gonna happen. But it's not that far away if you ask me. But actually, Waddell's brother is the actor that plays Harry in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. Really? I'm trying to think. I know who you're talking about. It's the guy who he wouldn't let them in the cellar, the basement, because his daughter was sick, right? That's Harry, right? Yeah. Maybe it was. Now that you're thinking about it, I can picture it in my head. Maybe it was. Maybe I just learned something new because I actually did not know that. But yeah, he's the guy who wouldn't let them in the cellar, right? I could be wrong, but I think that's the guy who wouldn't let him in the cellar. Three from Hell is the weakest one to me. I would agree. Obviously, like I said earlier, Devil's Rejects first, House of a Thousand Corpses, then Three from Hell. My pet peeve with Three from Hell was the second half of the movie didn't feel like a horror movie anymore, especially when they get to Mexico. Just doesn't feel like a horror movie. The first half was really good. I like the whole thing of breaking Baby out of prison. I like that. But and the beginning of the movie was brutal. It felt like the Firefly family. You know what I mean? But the second half, when they get to Mexico, it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of moving away from the horror aspect, and you're kind of getting into more of action survival movie. It's kind of like two movies in one. You know what I mean? And I just, yeah, that last half really got me. Oh yeah, Harry Cooper from Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, the guy who wouldn't let them in the cellar. Man, he sucked. He really sucked. Tony Todd was great in the Night of the Living Dead remake. This is kind of becoming an episode on the Night of the Living Dead remake, pretty much. Not really, but yeah, I would agree though about the Three from Hell thing. It definitely is the weakest out of the trilogy. But I really just wish he ended it with the Devil's Rejects. When I first seen Three from Hell, I wasn't really impressed with it. That's what happened with House of a Thousand Corpses. I just wasn't impressed with it, and then it grew on me. Three from Hell has kind of grew on me. At the beginning, I really do like. The last half, I'll probably never like. I just wish he didn't make Three from Hell. I wish The Devil's Rejects was the final movie, the final Firefly family movie. We really didn't need more after that, but unfortunately, yeah, we got that again. I felt like Ken Foree character felt bad that he had to tell where they were. Oh, I know who you're talking about. What was his name on the movie? I can't think of his name. He smokes the cigar in the movie. He was a cool character. I liked his character. I like when they first show up at like his whatever that place is. They first show up and he's tricking him. He's like, "Put your hands up" and stuff like that. And he just had like the squirt gun. That was funny. I like that stuff. But he was a cool character. But it did. Yeah, he kind of had no choice but to tell on them. I mean, he was like, I'm not in the mood. The sheriff was like, I ain't in the mood for this. Midnight, be there. Make sure they're there. Whatever. I liked his character. He's also in Rob Zombie's Halloween, of course, because he likes to use the same actors over and over again. I honestly don't know why, because if I would never use the same actors over and over again unless it is a continuation of one of my movies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to make an original movie and another original movie with the same cast. Now, if I make an original movie and a sequel, obviously I would probably bring the same cast back. I really don't get why he does that. I really don't get it. Only seen Three from Hell once, 31 once, and Lords of Salem once, but I seen The Devil's Rejects the most. I've probably seen The Devil's Rejects the most as well. Second that I've seen most from Rob Zombie is definitely House of a Thousand Corpses. Again, 31 and Lords of Salem I have not seen yet. I may give them a watch just to see how they are, because I do know those are original ideas from Rob Zombie. Let's just hope that Rob Zombie never gets his hands on another big franchise again, a big horror franchise. Like, I don't want to see him do Nightmare. I don't want to see him do, Chucky or anything like that. If anything, if he is going to do some sort of big horror movie franchise, let it be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I really do think that would fit him, obviously, because he does, the country type hick horror movies. So I think he should go for Texas Chainsaw if he is going to do that. But if I was Rob Zombie, I would stick with the original content. Don't get your hands in that stuff again, because as I always say, Rob Zombie killed the Halloween franchise for, what was it, 9 years or something like that. He killed the Halloween franchise for 9 years, and yeah, he really shouldn't have. He shouldn't have even been in that realm. I know, like last year, Rob Zombie made a comment that he's still proud of his 2 Halloween movies. I'm like, okay then. I don't see how you're proud of Halloween 2. I mean, I guess I could see why you're kind of proud of Halloween 1. You did some good things, but 2? How can you be proud of 2? You know what I mean? Like, come on now. And he is also in Dawn of the Dead 1978. Oh, are you talking about the okay, you're talking about Harry. No, Harry from Night of the Living Dead and from House of a Thousand Corpses. I haven't watched Dawn of the Dead a lot. I have it on DVD, and I've only seen it in my whole life probably, I want to say like 2 times, so I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead a lot. I do know that it's getting a 4K box set later this year, which is pretty exciting, actually. So I'm thinking about picking that up, but I need to watch Dawn of the Dead a lot more, because I was trying to find the Blu-ray. I think it's out of print though, which sucks, but it's not a big deal since the 4K is coming out. They actually were really insane. They're actually really insane, especially Lords of Salem. Lords of Salem I might check out. I do know that 31 and I think Lords of Salem are both on Tubi for free, so I do have access to watch those 2 movies, so I might do that. I'm not surprised that they're insane because they're Rob Zombie movies, and they probably feel very much like Rob Zombie movies, frankly. You know, I don't know. I'm not surprised that they're insane, like you say, because it's Rob Zombie's work. But I will always enjoy um, Rob Zombie's Firefly Family trilogy. That is a trilogy that I'll always enjoy in some way because I'm very interested in those characters. He did really well with the Firefly Family characters, and I'll always be invested in them. I really hope he doesn't make any more. I really hope we don't get another one. If we do, though, I wouldn't be that surprised because I feel like that's one of his biggest money makers. So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes another one, but I really hope he doesn't because he's already kind of, extended it a little too long for me. Because again, I think The Devil's Reject should have been the last film, but he made Three from Hell. I really hope he doesn't make another one, but he could do so because I could see that happening. He could do a Hills Have Eyes movie, probably good. Probably. Obviously, that's a classic as well. But so is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So even if he did do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, he's still, in the realm of a super beloved horror movie and a classic. Hills Have Eyes is another example. It's a classic beloved horror movie. I just feel like Rob's best bet is to stick with original content and not get his hands in those kind of franchises. Because if he screws up a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, obviously now not only will the Halloween fans be mad at him, which they probably still are. I wish he just never touched it. I'm not mad at him. I just wish he never touched it. Texas Chainsaw fans would be mad if he made a really bad Texas Chainsaw movie, which I don't think he would make a bad one. Hills Have Eyes. I don't think he would touch that. I don't think Hills Have Eyes. Hills Have Eyes only has two original movies. I know there's already a remake, so I don't think Hills Have Eyes is a horror movie. I wouldn't really call it a franchise since there's only two movies. But The Hills Have Eyes is a movie that probably won't get touched a lot anyways because it's not like a huge deal like Michael, Freddy, or Jason, anything like that. So if anything, he'll probably do Leatherface because Texas Chainsaw is bigger than Hills Have Eyes. Hills Have Eyes is a great movie, by the way. That's another movie I need to get in my collection. Dawn of the Dead, perfect zombie movie. Yes, Dawn of the Dead is my favorite George Romero zombie movie. A lot of people say Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is great, don't get me wrong, but Dawn of the Dead is definitely my favorite out of the Romero trilogy. They're all three good, don't get me wrong. I love Night of the Living Dead, Dawn, and Day. But a lot of people say Day is their favorite, and it's really good, but I'm going to have to go with Dawn. I really enjoy Dawn. I love the, mall scene. Not the mall scene. Most of it taking place in a mall. That's what I really liked about that. I do like his song called The Devil's Rejects as well, and he has a song called House of a Thousand Corpses. Yes, his song The Devil's Rejects is really good, actually. I do like his music. I've always liked his music since I watched Bride of Chucky, funny enough, because obviously in Bride of Chucky, Living Dead Girl plays, and once I heard that, I was like, I got to figure out who this is, and I found out it was Rob Zombie. And I really kind of started listening. That was the first song I ever heard by Rob Zombie. A lot of people probably first heard that song by Rob Zombie. And I kind of went out to check out more of his music. I was like, he's not a bad musician. He just needs to keep his hands out of big horror franchises and stuff like that. I used to absolutely not be a fan of Rob Zombie at all. Like his music, yes, but his movies, I was like, I will never watch a Rob Zombie movie ever again after I watched Halloween 2. And then last year, for some reason, I was like, you know what? I want to check out the Firefly Family stuff because I hear good things about it. Of course, Captain Spaulding I've seen everywhere. He's one of the biggest, he's one of the most iconic horror characters ever, honestly. I mean, if you show someone Captain Spaulding, they can probably tell you who it is. I mean, he's not as big as like, Michael and stuff like that, obviously, or even Dr. Loomis, but he's pretty well known. So I would see him all around. I was like, you know what? I'm going to check these movies out. I'm going to give Rob Zombie a chance and see what his original work is all about. And at first I didn't like it, but later on it grew on me, and I was like, you know what? This isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's a classic from Wes Craven. Yes, The Hills Have Eyes is probably my third favorite. No, that's not true at all. Probably my fourth favorite Wes Craven movie is The Hills Have Eyes. My favorite is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, Scream, New Nightmare, and then The Hills Have Eyes. Those are my top four, definitely. Night of the Living Dead is my favorite one of the series. It's a classic. It's amazing. I honestly love all three. I just have to go with Dawn. Dawn is something I've always enjoyed and always loved and always will love. I love all three of them, but something about Dawn. I've only seen it twice though. Crazy enough, I've only seen it twice in my whole life, and it's my favorite one. I've actually seen Night of the Living Dead more than Dawn of the Dead, and I enjoy Dawn of the Dead more. Same with Day of the Dead. I've probably only seen that about twice in my life. I need to watch those more. So we'll see what happens. Because I have all three in my collection, but I just don't have Dawn on Blu-ray. I just have the DVD, which I'll probably pick up that 4K at the end of the year. I think it comes out in like October or something like that. I think that was my first time I heard his music too from Bride of Chucky. Yeah, Bride of Chucky opened the gates for his music. Actually, they played two songs in Bride of Chucky. They played Living Dead Girl and Thunder Kiss 65, I believe, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I don't know. I know they definitely played Living Dead Girl, and that's how I got into his music and found his music. But I was just so not into his movies. Like, I'm telling you right now, if you're wanting to get into Rob Zombie's movies, do not watch Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 first. Go to the Firefly trilogy. Watch House of a Thousand Corpses, then watch The Devil's Rejects, then watch Three from Hell. That's the way to start, because if you do it, if you watch Rob Zombie's Halloween or Halloween 2 first, you're not going to be impressed. Especially if you're a hardcore Halloween fan. If you're a casual horror fan, you could probably enjoy those movies for what they are. I kind of get what Machete Slasher meant earlier on about if you look at it through like a different way. If you're a casual horror fan, you may enjoy Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. But if you're a hardcore Halloween fan, don't watch those first, because it'll probably ruin Rob Zombie for you. It probably ruined a lot of people. I don't know. I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys have the same sort of story. Did Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 kind of ruined Rob Zombie's movies for you? It did me, personally. I just did not want to watch anything else. I was like, I'm not a fan of this director. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I don't dislike Rob Zombie anymore. Let's see. Sid Haig. Yeah, Sid Haig played Spaulding perfectly. Exactly. He was born for that role. One day, if they ever do a House of a Thousand Corpses remake or the Devil's Rejects remake, finding someone to replace Spaulding is probably going to be pretty difficult, because he was definitely born to play that character. That was a great casting decision, because he was perfect for that role. Really was perfect for that. Yes, they played it. That was White Zombie. Yeah, White Zombie, Thunder Kiss 65. Yeah. Yeah, the album did come out in 1992. But yeah, the whole thing with Spaulding trying to find somebody else to take that role if they ever do remake House of a Thousand Corpses, which they probably won't. And if they do, it's going to be a long time from now. That is going to be a difficult, decision to make. Like, who can take on that role like Sid Haig did? I don't think anyone can. Just like Robert Englund, it's hard to replace him as Freddy. Even though I know recently people have been talking about Kevin Bacon again playing Freddy. I don't know if that's going to happen. But no matter what, Robert Englund will always be my Freddy Krueger. So it's going to be hard to replace Sid if they ever do remake those movies, which I don't think they will. I really don't. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think any of his movies will get remade. I don't think so either. But if they were to get remade, I feel like probably House of a Thousand Corpses or The Devil's Rejects would be the ones to get remade. They don't need remade, obviously not right now. I mean, again, The Devil's Rejects has only been out for 15 years. It's not that old. But when The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses get to be around 40 years old, who knows what they're going to do? They could remake it. Hopefully they don't. They really don't need remade. None of his movies need remade. They need to just leave him. He's not a big director anyways. I mean, he is, but he's not no John Carpenter. He's not no Wes Craven. I can obviously see why classics like Halloween are getting remade and stuff like that, even though even Halloween didn't need remade. But, big money makers are going to get remade. They're going to remake Texas Chainsaw. I believe they're already working on a reboot or whatever. Chucky had a remake last year with the Child's Play buddy thing, which is ridiculous. Those movies don't need remade, but it happens because they're money makers. And House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects are money makers. So, if they do get remade, I wouldn't be super surprised. but I don't think it will be anytime soon. But I really don't know why you would want to remake a Rob Zombie movie anyways, because he's Rob Zombie. You know what I mean? And remaking a Rob Zombie movie, I don't want to say that. I was going to say remaking a Rob Zombie movie would be kind of difficult because you're not Rob Zombie. But then again, remaking Halloween is kind of like difficult because you're not John Carpenter. You're not going to be able to beat that original. So I don't know. I do think those are the two that would be more likely to get remade if they were going to remake any Rob Zombie. It would be House of a Thousand or Devil's Rejects. True, he's not a legendary director. No. I don't think he ever will be either. I think he'll always be known and appreciated by his fans, of course. I always appreciate him for the Firefly family trilogy. I really do enjoy that whole storyline with that family. I always appreciate him for that, and I always appreciate him for doing pretty much what he wants to do. He makes it his own. So I definitely appreciate him for that. He doesn't try to copy anyone. He's himself when he writes his movies and directs his movies. So I'll always appreciate him for that, for sure. But I don't think he'll ever be a legendary director. I think he'll just be kind of that. He's just Rob Zombie. You know what I mean? I think he's more. I feel like he's more popular in the music world than the directing world. I could be wrong. I mean, he's pretty popular in both, but he'll never be a John Carpenter or anything like that. But I always respect him in some way for even doing horror and just being himself. That I always respect him for that, for sure. I'll definitely always respect him for that. But overall, we are getting closer to the end of MMR Live number 2. We're almost hitting an hour, just like the first episode. Again, MMR Live number 3 will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be talking about Terrifier 2, the teaser, predictions, probably the original Terrifier, the first Terrifier, talking about Art the Clown. So if you guys want to discuss Art the Clown with me and possibly a guest, and talk about the Terrifier 2 teaser, I'm going to try to break it down. I'm probably going to take some notes tomorrow, probably break down the teaser for you guys a little bit, just talk about predictions and just, again, have a good time like we did tonight. I know last week's topic was a little better. I just really wanted to kind of acknowledge the Devil's Rejects 15-year anniversary because it's the Devil's Rejects. You know what I mean? It's a really good movie for Rob Zombie. It's definitely Rob Zombie's, best movie. It's at the top for sure. And I think a lot of Rob Zombie fans would agree with me on that. So I had to acknowledge that it was the 15-year anniversary on here, and I wanted to do a show about it. But tomorrow is going to be super fun. Hopefully I can have a guest on here as long as everything works out, which it should. That show will probably be longer than this one, obviously, but I think it's going to be fun tomorrow. So join us for sure. I think he is the only rock artist to make movies that I know of. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. Yes, he is more popular in the music industry for sure. Awesome. That will be a good MMR. Yes, for sure. I cannot wait to do it tomorrow. It's going to be super fun. Again, I'm going to try to break down the trailer and everything like that. Predictions. The first guest will be on MMR Live, which I kind of gave you a hint earlier on. Machete slasher. Yeah, we'll see what happens there as long as everything goes as planned. Again, I want to thank you guys for 400 subscribers. That honestly means the world to me. I know, again, it's not a huge number. It's not like I hit 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, but it's still a milestone. Again, I will probably do a celebration for 500. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely like and subscribe because that's much appreciated. There's always room to grow. I'm not done just because I hit 400. I want to continue growing here on the channel. So if you're new, definitely leave a like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. Also, Drew Shaw said this was a fun one. Glad you enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this just like Drew Shaw, leave a like and subscribe. That would be much appreciated once again. And I will see you guys on MMR Live number 3 tomorrow at 8 p.m.